Welcome to another episode of OTM the podcast. Today we have another special guest with us, Jamie Cole. Jamie brings about 20 plus years of experience across a very diverse set of organizations, right? We're talking about retail, grocery, wellness, pharmaceuticals, uh, consumer packaged goods, even sports marketing, and residential summer camps. Most recently, Jamie purchased Skin Deep Laser Spa, which is based out of Strongsville, Ohio, where she is focused on helping people feel their best selves. What caught my attention was that Jamie was really and has really spent her career engaging with businesses and people in an effort to help them thrive. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jamie Cole. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Ed. Thanks for the introduction. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on some of these areas. And I do appreciate you taking your time and sharing your thoughts, even because that's probably the most valuable asset that we actually have here to share with our audience, right? So there's a couple of areas that we're going to cover. I think we're going to look at what are the ingredients to thrive in life, and I think we can kick off from that perspective. If I had to ask you, what in a nutshell could you give our audience are ingredients that allow you to thrive in life?
So I'll tell you, Ed, my mantra is you have to feel your best in order to be your best. And so I think it starts, first of all, with how you feel physically. And the components of health are what you feed your body, how much sleep you get, how in touch you are with mind, body, spirit, how you spend your time, how, beyond the physical piece of it, then who do you surround yourself with? How are you engaging? And the scenarios that you're putting yourself in, are those nourishing? And so I think those are all contributing factors for feeling our best. And then when I think we feel our best, then we feel invincible and we're able to live our best life and take risks and put our head on the pillow at night saying, yeah, that was another great day.
Awesome. So let's break down some of those areas a little bit. What is the importance of sleep? I haven't heard that in a while, other than people have to have a regular bedtime. And then on the other side of that, I hear about people waking up at 4 and 5 in the morning to have a productive day. Is there a balance? And what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's quality of sleep. I think people have different requirements for how much they need. There's a lot of wonderful devices, mechanisms out there. I personally wear an Aura ring, OURA, every night when I sleep. And I'll tell you, I'm a bit of a data junkie and I like to get a good score on my sleep. So I find myself putting an alarm on my clock at night to go to bed. Just like people put an alarm on their phone to get up in the morning, I have both. And I try to be very diligent in going to bed at a good, reasonable hour. And I look for that sleep score. And it's interesting because I've learned that, for example, if I eat too late or if I have a cocktail at past a certain hour, my sleep score, the quality of my sleep drops dramatically. And so it's been an iterative process for me. Some of it you could say is psychosomatic. When you wake up and it says, "Oh, it's going to be a rough day for you," it could kind of impair you more than maybe it normally would. But I will tell you that sometimes I get a bad sleep score, and I'm an early riser. I get up at 5 every day to exercise. And if I don't have a great sleep score, and if I'm not required somewhere where I've made a commitment to a trainer, or if I'm not teaching a fitness class, which I do for a hobby, and I get a bad sleep score, sometimes I'll go back to sleep because I'm committed to having good rest. Because again, that's part of the ingredients. It's like baking a cake, right? So I look at sleep as being a very important component of health.
So, is there an average number of hours that we should have? you said everyone's unique, and I tend to agree. But you have an app that you have or technology that you're using that has multiple variables, including what you eat. But so is it all the variables, or is there an average number of hours based on your age that you should capture for sleep? What do
Well,
you think?
I think it's age and also just your physical well-being. For me personally, 6 to 8 hours seems to be the sweet spot. That's when I seem to get the best sleep score. Um, it looks at readiness score as well as sleep. So, there's different breakdowns of what comprises a good sleep. So for me, it's 6 to 8 hours is the sweet spot. And if
I
it's more, it's even better. But I'm a realist, and it's hard to get that much time.
Sure. You added physical exercise. And so, from that angle, I just want to prefix it by saying, in all of our research in terms of human longevity and just overall well being, I don't think anybody's not heard that physical exercise or physical activity is important. What does that look like from your perspective in terms of age ranges? What does the physical activity look like as we start out preteens, teens, adolescent, adult, if you will, and so forth? What does that look like?
Well, that's an interesting question because I don't really think age is a factor.
Okay.
I might be an anomaly in that perspective, but I had a father-in-law who was climbing mountains until he was 90. And so I think age is irrelevant. I think it's really more about a mindset and your physical condition and your commitment to your physical condition. Um, for me, being physically active is meditative. It's a mindset piece that really starts every one of my days. I do think having a day off here and there is certainly important. But I believe that physical fitness is so much more than just the physical piece of it. I look at it as another opportunity to create endorphins in your body, to establish healthy mindsets. It's an opportunity for you to push outside of your comfort zone, to understand your true limitations or lack thereof, so that then that carries over into other aspects of your life. To make you recognize that you are empowered. You really can do even more than you ever imagined. And I think starting your day, challenging yourself, getting a good sweat, moving your body, it's good mentally, it's good physically, and it sets I always say it's hard to have a bad day when you've started it out by doing something really good for yourself.
Sounds good. This may be a good segue to tell us a little about your retreat that you founded, because you gave us, and I think one of the things I like about your mindset is it's holistic. It's not just physical. You keep interjecting things like meditation. I caught that. So tell us about the retreat, why you started a retreat, and what that retreat is about.
Um, Breathe Retreat is a retreat that I created for women. And it has a beautiful setting of Camp Robin Hood, which is a traditional overnight camp for kids, actually. And to give you the background, my husband and I bought this summer camp in 2003. It was a summer camp that he had gone to in beautiful Freedom, New Hampshire, in the White Mountains on a lake called Lake Ossipee. And I will tell you that it was a magical place when he was there, and it continues to be a magical place. We say that there's magic in the trees here. So I had the privilege of running this camp for 11 years with David. And as an aside, I've been teaching fitness since I was 15. And so in one of my, I taught cycle spinning classes for a long time. In one of my classes, I was kind of recreating a virtual experience of riding through Freedom, New Hampshire. And one of the women in my class said, "You know what? I'm so tired of hearing about this camp. You need to create something that allows your friends to experience summer camp." And it really sparked this idea that I wanted to create an event for like-minded women. As a female, another aside, we were raised to be mothers, to be ambitious in our careers, to keep a beautiful home, to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother. And I always felt challenged in that, how are we supposed to do all of these things? And so I have had a fascination with other women's stories of my generation to understand, is this what you were taught too? And how are you doing all of this? So the combination of my hunger for those answers and curiosity about other women who shared a similar set of challenges as myself, combined with this kind of gauntlet that my friend had thrown down, I recognized, what, I felt like it was a bit of a calling, truthfully. And so I spoke with the folks at camp and said, I think I'm going to create a weekend after the children have all gone home, for women to come together and experience nature, let their hair down. I found that over the years when I go on hikes or when I'm working out with people, it's a very raw experience, and people have this vulnerability when you're exercising together, where I think they have conversations in those settings unlike others. So I wanted to create an experience in nature at this camp that I had the privilege of owning, where I would bring like-minded women together to experience nature through hiking, biking, kayaking, playing pickleball, going to the riflery range, archery, arts and crafts, all kinds, being kids. But also having beautiful, clean food, because it's what I believe in. And so we have a fabulous chef who comes and makes just gorgeous, a variety of pescatarian, vegetarian, whatever suits people's appetites, but beautiful, clean food in a remarkable setting. And as I mentioned earlier, I think one of the key ingredients to thriving isn't just the physical wellness, but it's also the connection that you have with people. And I have found in all the years that I've been doing this retreat, and we started it in 2011, is that bringing people together in that natural setting where they feel vulnerable and safe to have really deep conversations, authentic, meaningful conversations, it fills your soul and it provides a nourishment well beyond the physical and the beautiful food. It's a nourishment that we all crave and savor and appreciate, and it becomes a part of us. Um, and the retreats have really changed a lot of women's lives. It has given them courage to start businesses, to close businesses, to find new partners, or whatever the case may be. It has been a beautiful adjunct to my career for sure.
So, Jamie, one question that definitely comes to mind is, why did you start a medical spa, and how does that relate to the whole concept of thriving?
So, Ed, I had an opportunity to buy an existing medical spa about a year and a half ago called Skin Deep Laser Spa here in Strongsville, Ohio. And I I love helping people feel their best. As I've said, I've been teaching fitness now for 40 years. I've, worked with people on their nutrition. And it feels like skin is just an extension of that. And so what we offer here is laser hair removal, tattoo removal. There's a lot of people with tattoos that they regret out there that, if we can help resolve that for them, boy, they feel so much better. And also just helping with some aging issues, medical weight loss. These are all things that help people feel better in their own skin. And that's critical for, having again that kick in your step, the confidence to go out. You got to feel your best to be your best, and it is such a consistent part of that philosophy that I have near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely. So, thanks for sharing that. That is a concept of self care that I think is mainstream now across society and the world. Um, If you're watching right now and you have questions or thoughts, please feel free to drop them in the comments area. Jamie and myself will return and certainly answer those as soon as we have time. Jamie, let's take off on another topic that you touched on, and that was the healing effects of exercise, but you've also added food as medicine. And I think that's a very interesting perspective. And I'll say this, and I'll turn to you to kind of broaden the food on medicine idea. We eat when we're hungry, or we eat just because we're supposed to eat. Food as a medicine is a really interesting perspective, and it's shared across many world cultures, by the way. So, what do you mean by looking at food as medicine?
So, and I feel so strongly about this. And I think the recent, well, it's not even so recent, but the explosion of depression and anxiety that exists in our world that correlates with the explosion of processed food should not be ignored. There is a direct correlation. And I think that if we were to revisit what we put in our bodies and be mindful as to how food makes us feel, and we really think about it and maybe even journal on it, I would imagine people might make some different choices. But, food becomes very habitual and it's very personal. And, people tend to have habits of just going through the grocery store. They buy the same things every time. They like what they like. They don't want to be hungry. They're not willing to give up certain things. And so, in a really cool project that I had, again, the privilege to work on with a local grocery store that was in both Ohio and Illinois, I helped to create a program called Club FX. And what we tried to impart on people was making small changes. And it doesn't necessarily have to be eliminating things out of your diet, but we really encourage people to just add things because your body is so strong in terms of what it knows it needs. And we believe that the more you feed your body the good things, the more it's going to crave those things. So we challenge people, rather than, again, taking away, add something because it feels less scary. So, for example, step one, add greens. Add more greens into your diet every day in any way that you can, any green vegetable. And people will recognize that greens actually help to reduce inflammation in your body, which seems to be a root cause of so many chronic illnesses, is inflammation. Greens are a natural way to reduce that inflammation. So we had a gentleman who ate a hamburger every day for lunch. We said, can we just maybe swap out the bun for lettuce? Maybe just twice a week. See how that tastes. See how that makes you feel. And it was amazing how that one change and adding something into his meal. We didn't say you couldn't eat a burger every day because that would be too radical. It was incredible to see how he iterated and how then he started to crave having those big lettuce pieces instead of buns on his burger. And then he moved towards having chicken instead of red meat. And then eventually he looked at having a grilled portobello mushroom instead of the meat. But again, it was a process. And what he recognized is with these changes, he started to feel better. So many times I think people don't realize how badly they feel until they start feeling great or even just remotely better. So we had 7 pillars. We have 7 pillars as part of this Club FX philosophy. One is eat more greens, as many as you can every day. The second is eat the rainbow. And we've heard about this, right? The more colors and fruits and vegetables, the more nutrients you're going to get because every color, every food is going to bring you something different that's going to be valuable for your system. The third principle is dose with omega-3 fats every day. And, we hear about salmon or nuts. These fats are good, healthy fats for your body that are good for brain health. Pillar number 4 was, sprouted grains over whole grains. Choose your grains wisely. A lot of people know that eating whole grains is important or whole wheat, but to take it even a step further by doing sprouted grains, they digest more slowly in your system. They don't spike your glycemic index. So again, these little tricks, these little trades make such a big difference in terms of how you feel. Looking at your protein choice, that was another pillar. Choosing plant is optimal, but then you could do fish is next best, or fowl or grass-fed beef. Some people love eating beef. Okay, just remember that you are what your animal eats. So if you can choose beef that is grass-fed, you're making a better choice for your body. And then keeping in mind that functional foods are so important for your gut health. Everybody talks about gut health because so many systems are connected to your belly. That's where your microbiome is, right? And so we need to feed your belly with the right foods, and we call them functional foods. So that would include pickles, pickled food like pickled relish, or just pickles. Another functional food would be uh, spices and herbs. Even dark chocolate qualifies, Ed. So again, those are really important foods to feed those great the bacteria, the good bacteria in your stomach. And then the final pillar that we say is just be mindful of your sugar and salt. But let me tell you, if you follow the first pillars, that kind of takes care of itself. And the other thing I would add is not all salt is bad. In fact, the majority of our body is made up of salt, right? So you need to think about what kind of salt. So if you love salt on your food, just switch it to a pink Himalayan salt. The iodized salt is horrible. It's all processed. But if you do like a pink Himalayan salt or a sea salt, that's great. That's actually good for you. So it's been a wonderful journey that I've been able to be part of with this brilliant holistic physician and a brilliant registered dietitian. We've gotten this program in the hands now of over 100,000 people, and people are actually getting off medication and they're feeling better, all because of these changes that they're making to their diet. And again, it's subtle. It doesn't have to be all at once, because if you try to do too much at one time, it's going to be shocking and it won't be sustainable.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And I have to agree in terms of um, subtle changes. We have this concept called the Otium 5 Challenge. And in that, body for longevity is one area where nutrition and the topics that you're talking about fall firmly into, right? So the concept has a time management piece which says you have 5 days instead of 7 days to do one goal, and you set yourself up by saying, I'm going to spend 1 hour in that first 5 days either dedicating to learning about what foods I'm going to substitute or actually add, right? And then actually doing that for 5 days or within that 5 day period and repeating. And so by doing that, you habitually start adding or becoming either improved by virtue of the fact that you're eating better, in other words, right? So one other topic we can talk about is your time and the people that you surround yourself with. The other topics are more didactic, if you will, but give me your ideas around how important are the people that you engage with or surround yourself with?
Well, I think the answer to that question is, have we ever noticed when we're around somebody who's constantly saying negative things or has just kind of a dour perspective on life, and how you walk away from that person and you just feel exhausted, right? And so I think, to the contrary, when you're around people who have a zest and a light and an excitement for life, an appetite for life, and they're doing inspiring things, it motivates you to emulate that, or to want to just spend more time with that person. And I think that people can either be a detractor, or they can be somebody who really just adds value, right? And I think that as we go through life, we realize that the most precious thing we have is time, and how we spend our time, what we do that makes us feel fulfilled, but also who do we spend our time with? And are those people enriching our life? Are they making us want to be better? Are they adding joy? And I challenge, people who come to my classes, for example, that when the new year starts, it's a great time to reevaluate how you're spending your time, but also who you're spending your time with, and being very intentional, because we can't get moments back, right? We can't. And so I think being just mindful of how people make you feel is really important, and it's a very critical aspect of whether or not you're going to thrive.
Absolutely. I concur. Time is a common variable for all of us, and certainly how we spend our time is important, as you're saying. Those activities, as you do them habitually, will add to self improvement. And to your point, perhaps who you share that time with will certainly also add to your personal improvement. So, on that note, I want to really thank you, Jamie, for taking time to share thoughts with us. I'm sure there are people in the audience that have captured little tidbits of information or tips to improve their own life journey, empower their life journey, and go ahead and thrive. So, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of OTM the podcast.
Thanks, Ed. My pleasure to be here with you today. Great conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you.